Hi again then guys, and welcome to episode 7 of GT Masters, the review series for Gran Turismo's GT class racing cars. And in this particular episode we're featuring one of the British race cars on the game, and also a relatively underappreciated racing model. You don't see a huge amount of people using it, and it's a pretty good car, to say the least. It's the Jaguar XJ220 LM race car. Now this is kind of a real car, but at the same time kind of not, because there is an actual XJ220 race car that does look like this, but at the same time this car doesn't adhere exactly to that vehicle. So it looks very similar, but it's technically not the same car. Now in terms of spec, the XJ220 is already a very strong supercar. The race car is no exception to that. It produces 930 horsepower fully tuned, 710 pound-feet of torque, and weighs in at a pretty decent 1175 kilos. So a pretty good opening spec. The price is also pretty good. It costs 1,450,000 credits. So it is considerably cheaper than many of the other GT class supercars in the game, because many GT cars start life as sports coupes or GTs. Relatively few of them start life already as supercars. That was more of a convention of the 90s. You used to see that a lot more back then. Race cars like the Lister Storm, the XJ220, the Gillett Vertigo, the Speed 12, they were much closer to supercars, whereas these days it's more BMW Z4s and Audi R8s and that kind of thing. Personally, I miss the days when supercars used to be turned into racing cars, because that pretty much never happens anymore. You don't see Ferrari Enzo race cars, you don't see Carrera GT race cars. You do see some. There's an MC12 or a number of MC12 race versions. There are Lamborghini Murcielago race cars. So there are some, but not as many as there used to be. And that's a shame. Now the XJ220 is pretty much the perfect candidate for turning into a race car. The engine that it's fitted with, even in its road form, is essentially a racing engine. It's from the MG Metro 6R4 rally car. And the racing version, which actually raced in the Le Mans and also incidentally won in its class but was later rescinded due to a technicality, was built by the same team that would later go on to develop the Nissan R390 race car, a team called TWR, who also made an incredible road-going version of the XJ220 Le Mans car called the XJ220S, which is my personal favourite variation of the car. But as far as this car, it is, as we said, pretty underappreciated, and to be fair, I can kind of understand why. It's been on the game for quite a while now, and cars which have been on Gran Turismo for a bit longer do tend to get a bit overlooked. There are some classics which still get a lot of love, like the Toyota GT1, but most of them tend to get overshadowed by the glamorous, shiny, newer models. Cars like the 787B, which most people would now pass over for the LM55. Cars like the Toyota Minolta, which many people would pass over for the TS30 Hybrid. There's still a strong following for the older models, but often people do tend to go for whatever's the newest, which is understandable, but that doesn't mean that the older models have lost their fastball against the new cars, and that is certainly the case with the XJ220. It is still a highly competitive GT car. It's one of my personal favourite GT race cars in the game, and the XJ220 gets a bad rep, to be honest, even from me, because it doesn't have the top speed that it deserves. With the race car, however, that's not so much of an issue, because although, yeah, it would be nice to have it quicker, it doesn't really matter as much for a race car. It's more about acceleration, grip, and handling than pure top speed. There are very few tracks where you really need that speed with a race car anyway, and this car can incidentally do well over 250 under its own power, meaning that it is faster than the majority of GT3s, some of the older racing supercar based cars such as the Lister Storm, etc. so the top speed is more than enough for most tracks, to say the least. The acceleration on the XJ220 is very strong. That's also the case with the road car. It can outperform a surprising array of vehicles, even some supercars with better top speeds. And the handling is very good, which is impressive given how big the XJ220 is. It is a very large, very long, very wide car. So the fact that it handles itself so well is very impressive. Overall, if you're looking for a GT car which most people don't use, and if you like to be that one person in the room who tries something different rather than just following the crowd, the XJ220 LM is a very strong alternative to the more mainstream options, and it will serve you extremely well. It may not have the glitz and glamour and the fancy livery or the updated interior or the incredible top speed of some of the others, but what it does have is smooth, beginner-friendly handling that will serve you well lap after lap, very strong acceleration, and just an overall feel to the car, which just, everything about the car feels right. It feels set up very well. Almost, I would say, like the R390, funnily enough, so maybe that's due to TWR. But, as I said, if you're looking for a strong race car, the XJ220 is a very good one to go for. And that's it for this episode, so I'll see you guys next time, and as always, thanks for watching.